I spend a fair amount of time on film YouTube. I see short films popping up, I see trailers for new films, I see established filmmaking channels, and I see smaller filmmaking channels. And consistently, I will see a short film that pops up, it blows up out of nowhere. It might be from a first-time filmmaker, might be from an established channel, but short films have a tendency to be able to go viral on YouTube. And yet, other than fan trailers for an intellectual property, I've yet to see an AI short film that has blown up. I've seen a few that have popped up in my recommended, and they've all got anywhere from 200 to 10,000, maybe 100,000 views at the most. But I just have not seen a single AI film, a film using heavily AI, or a short film created entirely by AI, just anything AI related, that has blown up. And I'm curious, because it seems like audiences are rejecting the concept of AI films. And this is fascinating because there's a lot of great articles about why AI films are bad and why it's not really a film. You can get all of the details. This video is not going to go into that. But the general trend is that artists are maybe against something, and yet the main audience is not. And what's really fascinating is that it seems like the audience, the world, is rejecting AI films. And that makes me a little bit happy. But the question is why, and what are the trends of it? And for me, the fascinating part is, will it continue? Because at some point the quality is going to get realistic enough. Maybe you'll never fix the eyes and the uncanny valley part of that, but at some point the AI is going to get insanely good to where you can't tell a difference between visual effects and AI. It's already pretty close. So I do wonder, at what point will that happen? And when it gets to that point, will audiences still reject AI? Right now, they're just decent quality. They're pretty good, but they're decent quality. There's a video with the Corridor crew reacting to visual effects, and they say this fascinating comment. They said, it's almost like anything that has AI is not worth doing. It's like if you did it with AI, was it worth doing in the first place? They were talking about some early American history series that I think Time was involved with. And the series is completely made of AI. And they're like, okay, was it worth making in the first place? Because why is anyone going to watch that specifically over something that was filmed specifically for that? And it's a fascinating thought to bring up. If it's created with AI, is it worth watching? So my argument about AI not being seen or not blowing up, or a short film not really going viral that's specifically AI, is specifically about short films. But long form content is starting to get sneaked in there just a little bit. I think the first season of House of David had a whole sequence that was done and helped out by AI. And then apparently the second season, I've not yet seen it, has a lot more AI involvement. And now a trailer came out called The Old Stories, or something along the lines, about Moses in Egypt. And a lot of it in the trailer was very obviously AI. And it makes me wonder how much audiences are going to notice. Now, of course, Irwin Brothers and that type of biblical faith-based content has a very passionate audience, and sometimes not the most discerning. If it's an incredibly well-made film or a cheaply made film, it's going to get an A+ cinema score if it comes out in theaters. That's not necessarily a bad thing. But for this AI debate, it's fascinating because I wonder if people are going to start rejecting it when they notice how much AI is in it. Because you can just look at one shot in particular at the end of the trailer where Moses is about to part the Red Sea, and it looks nothing, absolutely nothing like the Charleston Heston version in the Ten Commandments. And that was done getting close to 100 years ago, I feel like, well, 75 years ago. And doing it for real, doing it with visual effects, is just going to do it so much better than AI can. But also I realize it is fairly a cheap AI, and I wonder just how many years will have to pass before we get to the point where it is watchable. So that's kind of the state of the union. I haven't seen a short film blow up that's been AI, but we're starting to see it infiltrate long-form content when filmmakers need something cheap. I'm torn. I'm going to dive into it and explain some reasons of what I think, kind of going back to that Corridor crew comment of, if you make it with AI, is it worth making in the first place? But I am torn, and I'm curious, why do you think audiences don't like AI? And when do you think that change may happen? Will it always be that way, or will it eventually be something the audiences are won over to? For me, I feel like they're just not worth watching. Any film that's made in the typical regular way of filmmaking, even if it's animated or a lot of visual effects, is made by an artist. And it is a film that is telling a story. And if it's, say, a 3-minute short film, I think of one that was like filmed on 16mm, and it was called like The Heist or something. It's just this guy. It's a very basic story. The story wasn't that great, but the filmmaking carried it, and it was worth watching just because of the filmmaking. And then other stories have really crappy filmmaking, but the story carries it. And so I feel like there's always some reason to watch a short film. But if I'm watching AI, it's not really worth watching. I feel like I'm not comparing it to a story I'm comparing it to other films. I'm like, oh, it looks like a realistic camera move, or oh, that's a neat shot, but I'm comparing it to other films, and it's only good in how it compares to other films. It's not something that is done and makes sense and compares to anything in reality. Whereas I'm watching an actual filmmaker, I'm watching the craft, I'm watching the story, I'm watching it for something other than it's just a moving image. And AI, I'm not yet watching it that way. Whenever I watch an AI short or an AI thing, I'm just comparing it to a real one and how realistic it looks and compared to the original. Ultimately, I just don't enjoy watching something AI. It's just like if you're watching any film and you decide you don't like it, you're going to turn it off. And there's nothing enjoyable about watching it. There's nothing, no craft into it, no story that's gotten me engaged. And I'm not meaning specifically a story completely done by AI. There's some that have been written by a human and then created with AI. And even those, it just doesn't feel like it's worth watching, which is fascinating because typically when I don't like something, I'm kind of in the minority. There's a lot of things I'm against and contrarian to, and this is one of those where I feel like the audiences are actually starting to respond and they're showing that they don't like AI films. On YouTube, they just will not blow up. No one's watching them, but that just makes me so happy that for once it feels like we're on the same page. I think about at what point will people begin to accept it? Because right now it's getting slipped in. I think of the House of David series. I've not watched it, but I had seen nobody really talk about the AI part of it. No one's mentioned that it looks AI because I think they're doing it fairly cleverly. So I wonder at what point will the tide turn? At what point will we see AI as fascinating and as a cool thing? Because when visual effects first came out, whether that was Tron or Jurassic Park or Terminator, when they were first doing visual effects, it was awesome. It was really cool. And people were going to the theater to see the visual effects. Even as recently as Avatar, the third one, people are still going to see the really cool artistry and visual effects. Now, it may not be everyone's cup of tea. Obviously, there can be too much CGI. But in general, visual effects are still something that's pretty cool to see. But whenever AI is introduced, I just see a lot of backlash. And maybe that's from the artist side. Maybe that's from I'm following too many of the creative people. But it feels like audiences just don't care if something is AI. It's not a wow factor. And it's not a very cool thing. Other than a few clips going viral, it doesn't have a reason to go see it. I think a little bit of how I view ChatGPT and anything created by it. Because now when I read an article, sometimes I can tell it was written by ChatGPT and sometimes I can tell it was doctored by ChatGPT. Now I'm okay if something is doctored by ChatGPT. Someone inputted some great ideas, they just needed to flesh it out, and it still rubs me the wrong way. I lose a little bit of trust for that outlet or that creator or that article, and I'm gonna judge it a little bit because it's doctored by AI. But at the same time, I also realize that there's some value there. Someone had some value to share and they use AI to doctor it. But when AI creates value, when it's just calculating a bunch of words and trying to create something that sounds good, that's where it gets annoying. So that's just ChatGPT text-based something. You can read an article, you can tell if it's doctored by AI or if it was written by AI. But if it's written by AI, you're not hearing anything new. It's just taking the sum average of words and putting them together and making it sound somewhat interesting. It's trying to predict a good answer, and typically it does an okay job, but it's not worth reading because it's done by AI. So think about it in the same way with the video. A video, if it's adding value, is interesting, but I've yet to see a single short film that adds value and does something different that's worth watching other than the fact that it's just conglomerating things. All it can do is conglomerate something that's been done. Now, text-based is interesting because you can create something that's somewhat creative, or you can use words to craft something new or to adapt something, whereas video is just putting pixels together, and these pixels are not original. These pixels are all based on someone else's art, and it makes you wonder, if we do go this direction, at what point will the sum value of all the art in the world not advance? Because if no one's advancing it forward, all AI is doing is just crafting all these pixels into something that looks like something else. And a lot of art is derivative. So in some ways, the more video AI comes out, the more real artists are going to have to kick it into gear. They can't be sloppy anymore. They can't create something that's just dumb. Because if they create something dumb, ChatGPT can already do that. And video filmmakers using AI can already do that. And so the more that AI takes out that smaller level, the higher the level of art has to actually become. I think that's fascinating. It'll be interesting to see how that changes the industry and what direction it'll go. Because really anything that AI can replace, and replace well enough and no one really notices, it may mean it's not really worth doing in the first place. AI cannot create true value by writing an article. It can create something that's interesting and sounds and has some neat ideas, but it's not true value and it hasn't been tested, so therefore it's not verifiable and it's not worth reading and trusting. And so on the same side of video, it can create something that's interesting. It can create something that's somewhat fascinating and very realistic looking, but it's not genuinely adding value, and it's not at a level where you can trust it. And when it doesn't get to that level, it's not really worth watching. And there's a bunch of junk out there that's not really worth watching, whether it's on YouTube or Netflix or any streaming service or any movie. There's a bunch of parts that are just not good. There's a bunch of movies out there that are not good. And I think AI is going to make the bar get a little bit higher of what it takes to entertain audiences that are discerning. The best films are going to be timeless. And timeless, well, it's just that. It's timeless. It goes beyond AI. It goes before AI and after AI. And something that's timeless, what a true artist is going to try and make, is going to be something that will stand the test of time and can't be taken over by AI. Now, I don't have all the answers, and I'm fascinated to see what some people put in the comments, because I'm curious why people are abandoning AI and not liking it and not accepting it and not embracing it, and when will that change? But for me, I think it just shows that artistry is actually going to stand out. I think of an idea I had back in 2019. It was an idea to make a Clone Wars style animated pilot for a TV series, and I knew that I could do some basic animation. The goal wasn't to make beautiful animation. There's a bunch of incredible animators out there. That's not my goal. But the goal was to tell a story that could only be told through animation. And so I worked on, the first opening narration and then kind of hit a dead end. Then 2024 brought it back up. And I've been working on it for about 2 years now, on and off, going through shot after shot after shot. And it's a little sloppy, but it's telling a story. And when I compare it to AI, I can think, I could have used AI to create each of those shots. Yeah, it wouldn't have authorship. It wouldn't be something that I've actually genuinely created and can be proud of. It wouldn't be something that I want to promote as much. And it wouldn't be something that has imperfections and has creativity, because it'll just force the shot to happen. It won't creatively think of a way to turn the camera move or to author and tell a story. It can copy a story, it can tell a basic story, but it never can develop and tell a new story. And as sloppy as this animated pilot's going to be, and as much work as it took and how much faster I could have done through AI, I just don't want to touch AI. It's just not something that I see as actually helping the creative process. And a tool should make an artist more creative. It should allow them to do more things. And AI has not yet done that. And I think audiences want something new, and they want something innovative, and they want something creative. And AI is only recycling all these old ideas, and you hear about audiences saying we don't want to recycle old ideas. That's all AI is going to do, visually as well. There's not going to be anything pushing the art form forward. And so even just looking at an animated pilot and thinking of how much quicker I could have done that with AI, I could have just generated all these shots and just have a pilot, and it'd be great. I just wouldn't be proud of that. And I think other artists would say the same thing. And I'm thinking it's very fascinating that audiences, for once, are actually choosing something that's a little bit better than just the basic slop that we sometimes think audiences actually like. So that's my take. That's why I think audiences do not like AI movies. But I'm fascinated to see how long it will last. And a little side note, I also think the people who are prompting these AI machines and generators in order to create video, I think they deserve to be paid, because it is absolutely mind-numbingly boring and disheartening and mentally suffocating to try and sit there and create a video that gets what you want. And so the people who do that, they should be paid. Go ahead, pay them. If they want to sit there at a computer and punch in words and have something generate, I would much rather spend 10 hours creating one really good CG shot instead of spending 1 hour slaving away trying to generate stuff and have it look okay. And so I hope audiences continue to agree, and I hope they continue to reject AI, because I think AI is not very good. And I hope it doesn't get very good, because true artists are always going to be needed. And if you create something that creates for you, that's not actually creating. So I am curious what you think. And if you think there's another reason that I haven't mentioned why people don't like AI films, go ahead and share it. And if you think that AI might eventually replace it, and I'm wrong in my take about artistry and creativity, then let me know. I'm curious, because I don't have all the answers. I just wanted to start a conversation.